Hi, my name is Nathan Kempter. This is my wife Tricia. We are trying to start a little story series where I tell you some of the crazy stuff that happens to us on the road and at home. This one today is going to be called The Burnt Monkey. It is not actually a monkey who's on fire, but you will understand the story a little bit better and the title better as we get on in the story. So when we started playing music, we had a 12-passenger van and a trailer. We went all over the country literally in this little thing. I say little because I don't know where they got the word 12 from or the number 12 from. 12 adults would never fit in that thing comfortably.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, it was not. So we decided to buy a bus. Dad went, did a ton of research online and finally found this 40-foot Greyhound in, I believe it was in Chicago or something.
Wow.
It came from Chicago anyways. Well,
did it have all the seats and stuff still in it?
Yeah, it had all 40 seats in it. So we got it home, stripped all the seats out, built bunks, you know, built a little kitchen, blah, 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 all the stuff that was in it. We were on a tour to New England and got to Roanoke, Virginia, and the alternator went out. You can watch another video that we have. It's called the Great Generator Pull or something, and it's us pulling that alternator out of the bus. And on that tour, I think we pulled the alternator out of that bus and rebuilt it like 7 or 8 times.
Oh.
It was really, really terrible. Because when the alternator goes out, it shuts down all of your power on the bus. You can still drive for a certain amount of time, but then it will cut your transmission off, and you're just stuck in neutral. And
like as you're driving down the road?
It'll just click you into neutral, and you've got nothing, you can't do anything about it. Long story short, we spent a ton of time working on that alternator trying to get it fixed. Whole trip, it was madness. We got home, and my dad decided that he thought the alternator was overheating, so he put a bunch of temperature sensors and wires and all this junk connected to it up into the bus, and we had this little, we were going like 15 miles to a concert that Sunday morning. He was monitoring it as I drove, and we're driving along. He's, you know, telling me, shift into third, you know, stay in third, get the RPMs high, blah, 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 blah. Come to the last turn, literally turning into the driveway of this church, and the bus just goes, boop, turns off. It's just completely dead. It lost power steering in the turn, so I have no idea how I sit there and yanked the thing around the corner and finally got it on the side of the road. At that point, we were sick of it. We were like, we're so sick of this bus. We wanted to just light a fire under it and burn the whole thing down. So we unloaded all the stuff. We drove down the road, down the street to the church, set up, played. It turns out that the music director of the church was going to diesel mechanic school.
That's convenient.
Yeah. So he's like, hey, do you mind if I look at it while you know, go home and cry about your losses? So he looks, he calls us up, and he's like, hey, I don't think it's an electrical problem. I think you've got, I think your engine is seized.
That's a bad thing, right?
Yeah, it was way bigger than the problem we had, or we thought we had, was a problem with the alternator. And we were like, yeah, buddy, you need to go back to school, study a little bit more. I don't think that's a problem. So we got the bus towed, which cost a fortune. Pulled it back to the house. A couple days we're sitting there, and finally got around to going out working on it. Go out, still nothing. We tested that thing for a week, couldn't figure out why it was just not making any even attempt to start. And my dad was finally like, you know what? Let's get a wrench, big giant wrench, and let's see if we can turn the motor over. Maybe the guy was onto something.
Imagine.
Put the wrench on it, and it's like nothing. And we're like, well, wouldn't you know? Looks like the engine's seized. So
the guy was right.
It was right, and we were not very happy about that. So we had two choices. One, we could have the bus towed to a bus mechanic and have them rebuild the engine, which tons of money. Or we could throw the bus away, have it towed off to his scrapyard, which we contemplated.
Wow.
Or 3,
Oh no.
we could take the engine out ourselves and learn how to rebuild the engine on our own.
So naturally you chose that, didn't you?
Yeah, we chose.
I mean, had any of you ever rebuilt an engine before?
We had rebuilt a gas engine.
But not a diesel.
My dad had worked on engine, regular truck car engine.
Okay.
But never a diesel. Never cracked a diesel engine at all. They had no clue. So we pulled the engine out with the idea that if the build got too difficult and we got lost, that we would just call up MCI and ask for a manual. We didn't have a manual for that, for the engine. So we start and we tear it all out and blah, 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 blah. And sure enough, we get lost. And we're like, all right, we'll call up MCI, because we knew the manuals were like $300 or $400. So we call them up and we're like, so we need a manual for our engine. And they're like, great, what's your model? And we were like, we have an MCI 102C3 with a Cummins L10. And they're like, we won't stop you there, we're really sorry. We didn't make enough of those buses to write a manual for that configuration. You are
That's great luck.
kidding me. So the 3 of us, me, my dad, and Chris, we sat there and would reverse engineer every single part on that engine to see to try to come up with a theory about how we thought it would work. We just sit there for hours, like just looking it apart, saying, how do you think that works? Blah, 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 blah. So it took forever. It took like 3 months to build this engine. Finally got it built, we thought. Put the engine in, started up, and the first thing that happened on the startup was we didn't have the throttle cable connected to the actual throttle. And it's this little screw on the side of the fuel pump that it turns like that much.
Okay.
One is off, the other one is all the way on. And then just pedal to the metal. It was turned pedal to the metal. So we haven't turned this motor over yet. First time we've ever done it. We're on pins and needles. We don't know if we put the thing together right. We're expecting it to blow up. Turn it over, and it just takes off. Just wraps up to like 3,000 RPMs. Freaks us all out. We're just diving for the cutoff switches and everything. Started up and decided to go take it for a spin. The bus is driving like a sports car. It had practically peeled the tires out on startup.
So you guys had done a good job rebuilding it.
We thought we should go into the diesel business.
Okay.
I mean, we were like, we have created a sports bus. And we were super excited because the bus before the rebuild was just a dog. I mean, as slow as a slug, couldn't get up hills, nothing. The thing was like going 75 miles an hour on the interstate without us even trying, which for a bus is really, really powerful. So we were just
Thrilled.
super excited.
Yeah.
So we decided that we were gonna go on a trip. We'd been just driving around the neighborhood. So we were gonna go to Birmingham, which is like an hour and a half away. Take off, get on the interstate, it is just flying. It's at night. And my dad's like, man, this thing's driving like a burnt monkey. And at first we're like, what is that? He's like, I don't know, but it sounds fast.
It's a monkey with its tail on fire is gonna run pretty fast.
Yeah. So we started calling it the burnt monkey.
Goodness.
Get up to Birmingham, turn around, we were like, man, this is the greatest thing ever. We finally got a bus. Because we'd been driving in the bus for like a year. And for the last 3 months, we were back in that little van, and it was murder. So we're coming home, we're on the interstate, Dad's driving, and all of a sudden he makes a comment. He's like, I'm losing power. So he starts steering over to the side of the road, emergency lane, and he stops, and a giant cloud of smoke passes the bus, just like,
oh no.
right by the bus. And we're like, he's like, oh my goodness. He goes, a cloud of smoke just passed me. So we jump out, we run around the back, we open the door up, the back hatch up, and just
probably dangerous.
this wall of heat hits us.
Ooh.
The engine is smoking. The water, there's a reserve tank for the water above the engine, so it's not even supposed to be connected to the water system, really. The water in that tank was boiling. Just boiling out the top. I mean, oil cap was gone, engine, the gasket cover around the rocker cover cap was just coming out. It was literally, the plastic was melting out of it.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds terrible.
It was pretty much terrible. At this point, we'd spent like $60,000 on this engine rebuild, and
60?
yeah, $60,000. We had bought all new parts for the engine, pistons,
Oh my goodness.
piston sleeves, everything was new.
So what do? You cry and go have someone tow you home, or what?
Yeah, the same guy who towed us the first time
Oh no.
showed up, and he walked up and he goes, "Didn't I tell you guys like 2 months ago?" And we were like, "Yeah." He's like, "What'd you do?" And we were like, "We rebuilt the engine," and he just melted. And he was like, "You did it yourself?" And he was like, "Yeah, we rebuilt the engine ourselves." He goes, "Well, I have to hand it to you. I don't know anybody who would try that." He goes,
That's a bad sign.
yeah, he goes, "I mean, you got to give yourself that. No one else that I know would ever even
Brave
attempt that kind of feat." And so we get it towed home, and we were like, "Wow, I guess it was the burnt monkey. I guess it didn't like us calling it that." And so we go home, we rebuild the engine again, and take out another test bed. It does the same thing. Melts down. The piston heads of the aluminum piston heads boiled. The aluminum boiled. The rings just melted right into the piston head. We looked up the boiling point of aluminum is 2,100 degrees. So we figured out why.
Lucky the burnt monkey didn't blow.
Yeah. So this happened 3 times. We rebuilt the engine, it would melt down. Rebuilt the engine, melt down. Rebuilt the engine, melt down. But the 3rd time, we were using parts from the other 2 rebuilds that hadn't completely melted down in the 3rd one. The ones that weren't messed up. And we rebuilt the last engine in like 3 days. The first one was 3 months. We had gotten we had gotten a lot better at what we were doing.
Wow.
So we finally get it all set up the 3rd time. Take off down the road. Before we're done that, we took out a section of the water system. It was a piece of pipe this long, 1-inch pipe, that long, that when the thermostat opened up on the bus, the water is circulating inside your block at first until it reaches a certain temperature, and then it will open the thermostat and then cycle the water out through your radiator. When the thermostat would open up, it would cycle the water outside of the engine and leave the water inside the engine exactly where it was. And it would just get hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. Before long, we were melting the aluminum pistons. It wouldn't even show up on the temperature gauges. So none of your gauges would show anything, which is why it was so confusing. In that time period, my dad was just super stressed. I mean, he was stuck with trying to do this ministry in a van that was literally just killing us. When he's so tired when you get to a concert or when you have to go out of state, he was just throwing money at this thing. And we were at a point in time where we could either figure out what the problem was on our own or just basically start over and take it to a bus mechanic, which would have just been
A lot more money.
an astronomical amount of money. So we were just kind of stuck. So I had my cousin who had just graduated art school. I called her up and I was like, "I need some comic relief. I need a t-shirt of the burnt monkey." And she's like, "Why would you want a burning monkey?" And I was like, no, it's a bus. We call it the burnt monkey. And I want a funny t-shirt designed so that I can give my dad. She's like, "All right." So it's like She did a couple sketches, came up with something really funny. I wish I had we can't find a t-shirt. She's currently trying to find the design because I want to make these t-shirts and be able to sell them, but she makes this design and she sent it to the house with a return address from Cummins. We were getting stuff from like daily. I'm like, I think I have the video, and if I do, I'll post it in this clip, but if I don't, you know, I'll explain it. But I filmed my dad, and he gets up, it's early in the morning, and he gets up and he's like walking out, and he sees this box sitting there on the table, and he's like, did we order anything this week? And I'm like, I think so, yeah. This is another part. And he's like, okay. He's opens the box up, and he just stops. And he slowly pulls this t-shirt out, and he's just like looking at it. He like looks around. He's like, it's a Burnt Monkey t-shirt. Where did that come from? So we used those t-shirts the entire time we worked on the bus. Everybody wore the Burnt Monkey t-shirts. He wore them for years. He loved the Burnt Monkey t-shirts. So, long story short, the moral of the story.
Wait, so did it ever get fixed?
Yeah.
The Burnt Monkey?
We did. We got it fixed, and then we promptly sold it. Sold it for like $3,000. The whole bus for like $3,000. We were like, we have to get rid of this thing. It is driving. It's possessed.
You probably would have
driving
gotten
us
more if
insane.
you'd have scrapped it.
The guy we sold it to could have literally taken it from the yard to the scrapyard and made a $1,000 profit, just like that. Could have done it. We were like, here you go, man. We're done with this bus.
But it would have hurt your heart to scrap it.
No,
I'm sure.
it would not.
No?
We could have lit that bus on fire and it would have been the happiest day of our life. We were so sick of that thing. So the moral of the story is, I guess, don't give up or don't get involved. One or the other. I'm not really sure.
So that's the Burnt Monkey.
That's the Burnt Monkey.
We do need t-shirts.
We need t-shirts. I wish I could show you the t-shirt right now. It's very funny. Anyways, that's the Burnt Monkey. There's literally a million other stories. If you like this, if you enjoyed it, please comment below. Don't forget to subscribe, and possibly we'll do more. Maybe have other people doing it. I don't know. Because we have some really funny stories. You can't make up what happens to us most of the time. Thank you once again, and hope you have a good day, and God bless.
That was super long. That was so long. Your intro, like setting it up, was
How
8 minutes. Like the end of the story was short and concise. The beginning, you may want to sit down and do the beginning again. What? That was like a 25-minute story, wasn't it, Charlie? How long was it? Really long.
She filmed all that.
I know. Oh wait, what?